I stood backstage at my parents' charity gala, wearing a $5,000 gown, about to be honored as their organization's largest anonymous donor. In 30 seconds, they were going to announce my name to a room full of 500 people, including my mother and father, who had texted me 2 weeks earlier. "Don't come to the gala. Only high society people and elites are invited. You wouldn't fit in." They had no idea I was the elite they'd been bragging about to their friends for months. No idea that their disappointment of a daughter had quietly donated $500,000 to their cause. And in 30 seconds, they were about to find out. My hands were shaking, not from nerves, from 41 years of rage that was about to get very, very public. My name is Sophia. I'm 41 years old, and for most of my life, I've been invisible to my parents. Not literally, of course, but invisible in all the ways that matter. Let me paint you a picture of my family. My father, Richard, is a retired banker who spent 35 years climbing the corporate ladder in a regional investment firm. My mother, Patricia, was a stay-at-home mom who poured all her energy into charity work, social clubs, and maintaining the perfect image of an upper-middle-class family. They live in a beautiful colonial house in Connecticut, belong to the country club, host dinner parties, and care deeply, deeply about what people think. Then there's my sister, Jennifer. She's 3 years younger than me, and she's been the golden child since birth. Jennifer is beautiful in that classic, conventional way, blonde, blue-eyed, petite, always perfectly dressed. She married her college boyfriend, Michael, who became a cardiologist. They have 3 kids, live in a gorgeous house 2 miles from my parents, and Jennifer volunteers at the Children's Hospital and chairs the school PTA. She's everything my parents ever wanted in a daughter. And then there's me. I'm the oldest, the one who was supposed to set the example, the one who somehow failed at that task despite doing everything I was supposed to do. I was a good student, straight A's, honor roll, National Honor Society. I went to a good college, not Ivy League, but solid. I got a degree in computer science at a time when that was still unusual for women, and then I went into tech. My parents did not understand tech. They didn't understand why I wanted to work with computers instead of becoming a teacher or a nurse or marrying someone successful like Jennifer did. When I tried to explain what I did for a living, their eyes glazed over. When I got excited about a new project, they changed the subject. When I got promoted, they said, "That's nice," and then asked when I was going to settle down and find a husband. I spent my 20s building a career at a software company in Boston. I worked insane hours, learned everything I could, and slowly worked my way up from junior developer to senior engineer to team lead. I was good at what I did, really good. By my early 30s, I'd saved enough money to take a risk. I left my stable corporate job and joined a startup. A tiny company, just 5 people, working on cybersecurity software. My parents thought I'd lost my mind. "You left a perfectly good job for that," my mother asked, horrified. "Sophia, you need security. You're not getting any younger." The startup was acquired 4 years later for $80 million. My share, as an early employee with significant equity, was just over $6 million after taxes. I was 36 years old, and I was set for life. I didn't tell my parents the exact amount. I told them the company had been acquired and I'd done well. My father said, "That's good," and my mother said, "Does this mean you can finally take some time off and focus on finding a husband?" At Jennifer's house that Thanksgiving, my brother-in-law Michael asked what the acquisition meant financially, and when I was vague, he said, "Well, I'm sure it's nice to have a little nest egg," in this condescending tone that made it clear he assumed it wasn't much. I didn't correct him. I didn't correct any of them, because I'd learned over the years that my achievements made them uncomfortable. They didn't fit the narrative my parents had built about their daughters, Jennifer, the successful one who did everything right, and Sophia, the awkward one who worked too much and would probably end up alone. After the acquisition, I took a year off. I traveled. I thought about what I wanted to do next, and then I joined another startup, this time as Chief Technology Officer. We built AI-powered data analytics tools, and we were acquired 3 years later for even more money. I was 39, and my net worth was in the 8 figures. I still didn't tell my parents. What was the point? They'd never understood what I did. They'd never been interested in my work beyond whether it was preventing me from meeting men. They'd made it clear, in 1,000 small ways over 4 decades, that I was the disappointment and Jennifer was the success. So I bought a beautiful loft in Boston, furnished it exactly how I wanted, and lived quietly. I had a small circle of close friends. I dated occasionally, nothing serious. I consulted for various tech companies, earning more for a few hours of work than most people made in a year. And I started thinking about what to do with all this money I'd earned. That's when I discovered my parents' charity. My mother had been involved with the Riverside Foundation for as long as I could remember. It was a local charity in their Connecticut town that provided educational resources and scholarships to underprivileged kids. Noble cause, genuinely good work. My mother had volunteered there for 20 years, and 5 years ago, she'd been named to the board of directors. She talked about the foundation constantly. Every phone call, every family dinner, every holiday gathering. She'd go on and on about their fundraising goals, their programs, the gala they were planning, the important people who were getting involved. It was her whole identity. I'd always tuned it out, honestly. It felt like another thing she cared about more than she cared about me. Another way she filled her time that didn't involve actually getting to know her oldest daughter. But one night, about a year ago, I was visiting for dinner, and she was particularly animated about the Foundation's newest initiative, a STEM education program for girls from low-income families. Coding classes, robotics, mentorship from women in tech. That got my attention. "Tell me more about that," I said, interrupting her story about some board meeting. She looked surprised that I was interested. "Oh, well, it's a wonderful program. We're trying to encourage young girls to pursue careers in science and technology. You know, fields where women are underrepresented." The irony was not lost on me. Her daughter had a career in tech, had been trying to talk to her about tech for 20 years. And here she was, passionate about getting other girls into the field she'd never respected when I chose it. "How's it funded?" I asked. "Oh, we're struggling with that," she admitted. "We need about $200,000 to really get it off the ground, pay for equipment, hire instructors, provide scholarships. We've raised about $30,000 so far, but it's slow going. I've been writing grant proposals, but you know how competitive those are." An idea started forming in my mind. A crazy, probably unhealthy, definitely petty idea. What if someone wanted to make a large anonymous donation? I asked casually. "Anonymous? Well, we certainly accept those, but most major donors want recognition. That's why we have the donor wall in the lobby and the gala where we honor contributors. People like to be acknowledged for their generosity." "But if someone wanted to stay anonymous, you'd allow it?" "Of course," she said, looking at me curiously. "Do you know someone who might be interested?" "Maybe," I said. "Let me think about it." 2 weeks later, I contacted the foundation's development director, not my mother. I told her I wanted to make an anonymous donation of $250,000 to the STEM program for girls. The only conditions, complete anonymity, and the money had to be used exactly as specified. Equipment, instructors, scholarships, no administrative overhead. The development director nearly cried on the phone. She asked if I was sure about the anonymity, if I understood that we wouldn't be able to publicly thank me. I said I was sure. She asked if I wanted any input on the program. I said no, I trusted them to do good work. The donation was wired the next day. My mother called me that evening, ecstatic. "Sophia, the most amazing thing happened. The foundation received a massive anonymous donation, $250,000. Can you believe it? Someone just gave us $250,000, and we don't even know who it is." "That's wonderful, Mom," I said, smiling to myself. The development director said it was a woman, someone who believed strongly in getting girls into STEM fields. I wish I knew who she was so I could thank her. She's changing lives, Sophia. This program is going to reach hundreds of girls now. For the first time in years, I heard genuine emotion in my mother's voice when she talked to me, except she wasn't talking to me, really. She was talking about me without knowing it. "I'm glad the program will be able to help people," I said. "You know, you work in that field," she said thoughtfully. Maybe you could volunteer sometime, help mentor some of these girls. It would be good for you to give back. I worked in that field. After 20 years, that's still how she described my career. Not you're a technology executive or you're an expert in cybersecurity and AI. Just that field. Maybe, I said noncommittally. Over the next several months, my mother talked endlessly about the mysterious donor. The foundation started calling her the STEM angel. They speculated about who she might be, a tech executive, a wealthy alumna of the local schools, someone who'd benefited from a similar program. My mother became mildly obsessed with figuring out her identity. I found it darkly amusing. I was right there, right in front of her, and she couldn't see me. Then, 6 months after my first donation, I made another one. Another $250,000, this time for general operating expenses and expansion of their after-school tutoring program. My mother called me crying. Sophia, she did it again. The STEM angel donated another $250,000. The board is beside themselves. We've never had support like this. We're going to be able to expand everything, reach more kids, offer more programs, maybe even open a second location. That's incredible, Mom. We're planning a special gala for next spring, she continued. A big fundraising event, black tie, the whole thing. We're hoping she'll reveal herself. The board wants to honor her, create a named scholarship program, something. She deserves recognition for what she's done. She might want to stay anonymous, I suggested. I know, but I hope she'll reconsider. People need to see that kind of generosity. It inspires others to give. And honestly, I just want to know who she is. I want to thank her properly. I'm sure she knows she's appreciated, I said quietly. The gala was scheduled for April 15th. My mother talked about nothing else for months. The venue, the caterers, the guest list, the decorations, the program. She was co-chairing the event committee, which meant it consumed her entire life. Every time we talked, she updated me on the details. Which local celebrities were coming, which wealthy families had bought tables, which businesses were sponsoring. She rattled off names I didn't know, the founders of local companies, the old money families, the country club set. I waited for my invitation. Surely, despite everything, I was still her daughter. Surely I'd be invited to this event that meant so much to her. The invitations went out in February. Jennifer called me the day hers arrived, excited. Did you get yours yet? It's so elegant. Mom really outdid herself. Michael and I are buying a whole table and inviting some of his colleagues from the hospital. It's going to be such a nice evening. I haven't gotten mine yet, I said. Probably just slow mail. Probably, Jennifer agreed. I'm getting a new gown for it. Mom and I are going shopping this weekend. Do you want to come? I have plans, I lied. A week passed. No invitation. I checked my mail obsessively, even though I knew it wasn't going to come. I could feel it, that familiar feeling of being excluded, of not quite fitting, of being the daughter they'd rather not explain to their friends. Finally, 2 weeks after invitations went out, I texted my mother. Hey, Mom, I think my gala invitation might have gotten lost in the mail. Can you have them send another? She didn't respond for 6 hours. When she finally did, my stomach dropped. Sophia, I meant to talk to you about this. The gala is a very high-profile event. We've worked hard to attract a certain caliber of attendees, business leaders, philanthropists, society people. It's important for the foundation's reputation and future fundraising. I don't think it would be the right fit for you. I read that text 5 times, each time feeling like I'd been slapped. What do you mean it wouldn't be the right fit for me? I texted back. Another long pause. Then, you know how these things are. There's a certain social expectation. People will be dressed very formally, discussing business and philanthropy. You'd probably be bored. And frankly, we need to present our best face. Jennifer and Michael will be there representing the family. Maybe it's better if you sit this one out. I sat on my couch, staring at my phone, feeling something crack inside my chest. My own mother had just uninvited me from a charity gala, not because I'd done anything wrong, but because I wasn't fancy enough, wasn't successful enough by her standards, Wasn't married to a doctor or part of the country club set. I was an embarrassment she didn't want to explain. I typed and deleted about 10 different responses. Angry ones, hurt ones, sarcastic ones. Finally, I just wrote, "Understood." She responded immediately, clearly relieved. "I knew you'd understand. We'll have a nice family dinner soon to make up for it." A nice family dinner. Like that was equivalent to being excluded from the most important event in her life because I wasn't good enough to be seen with her precious society friends. I didn't respond. I poured myself a very large glass of wine and sat in the dark, feeling every single year of being the disappointing daughter. Every achievement that wasn't celebrated. Every time I was compared unfavorably to Jennifer. Every moment I'd been made to feel like I didn't quite measure up. And then, through the hurt and anger, an idea emerged. A terrible, beautiful, absolutely perfect idea. I called the foundation's development director the next morning. Her name was Carol, and we'd spoken several times over the past year about my donations. "Carol, hi. This is the anonymous donor, the one you call the STEM angel." "Oh my goodness, hello. Thank you so much for calling. I hope everything is all right." "Everything's fine. I wanted to let you know I'd like to make another donation. $500,000. Dead silence on the other end. Then, in a whisper, "Did you say 500,000? "Yes, but this one comes with conditions." "Of course, anything." "I want to be publicly recognized at the gala. I want you to announce my name and have me come on stage to accept the honor. I understand you're planning to recognize your major donor." "Yes, absolutely. We were going to create a special award for you, but we thought you wanted to remain anonymous." "I've changed my mind. I think it's time people knew who I am." "This is wonderful. Can I ask your name so we can prepare the materials?" "My name is Sophia Mitchell." Another pause. "Mitchell, are you related to Patricia Mitchell? She's on our board." "She's my mother." "Oh," Carol sounded delighted. "Oh, this is perfect. Patricia will be so thrilled. She's been dying to know who our angel donor is, and it's her own daughter. This is beautiful." "Carol," I said carefully, "my mother doesn't know about any of the donations, and I'd like to keep it that way until the gala. I want it to be a surprise." "A surprise, but surely you want to tell her beforehand. She's your mother." "She's also the woman who uninvited me from the gala because she doesn't think I'm fancy enough to attend," I said flatly. Silence. "She what?" Carol finally asked. "She told me I wouldn't fit in with the high society crowd. So no, I don't want her to know beforehand. I want her to find out when everyone else does, on stage, in front of all her fancy friends." "Oh my," Carol said quietly. I don't know what to say." "Will you do it? Will you keep it secret until the announcement?" "Yes," she said after a moment. "Yes, I will, though I have to say Patricia is going to be absolutely shocked." "That's what I'm counting on." The next 2 months were surreal. I bought a gown, a stunning deep blue silk number that cost $5,000 and made me look like I belonged on a red carpet. I got my hair professionally colored and cut. I practiced my acceptance speech until I could deliver it without my voice shaking. And I waited. My mother called a few times, chattering about gala preparations. Each time I had to bite my tongue. She'd mention how disappointed she was that the STEM angel hadn't revealed herself, how she'd hoped to honor her at the gala, but it looked like she'd remain anonymous, how there would still be a tribute to the mysterious donor, but it wouldn't be the same as having her there in person. "Maybe she values her privacy," I'd say. "I suppose, but it seems selfish, doesn't it? Taking credit for good deeds is what inspires others to give." Selfish. My mother thought the woman who donated $1 million to her charity was selfish for wanting privacy. Jennifer called 2 weeks before the gala to tell me about her dress and ask, again, if I was sure I didn't mind not coming. "Mom explained it was a society thing," she said in that careful voice she used when she knew something was wrong but didn't want to address it directly. "I told her you should be invited anyway, but she said the guest list was set and you'd probably be more comfortable sitting it out." "And you think that's reasonable?" I asked, unable to keep the edge out of my voice. I think Mom cares a lot about appearances, Jennifer said diplomatically. You know how she is. Yeah, I know how she is. Are you okay, Sophia? You sound, I don't know, different. I'm fine, I lied. Have fun at the gala. The week before the event, Carol called to finalize details. Where I should arrive, where I'd wait, when I'd go on stage. She'd prepared a lovely tribute video about the impact of my donations, girls in the STEM program talking about their dreams, teachers discussing the difference the resources had made. At the end, they'd announce my name and call me up to receive a crystal award and say a few words. Your mother is going to faint, Carol said, and I could hear the smile in her voice. In a good way, I hope. We'll see, I said. The night before the gala, my mother called. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Sophia, I just wanted to call and say I'm sorry you can't be there tomorrow. I know I already explained, but I feel bad about it. You understand, don't you? No apology for excluding me, just checking to make sure I understood my place. I understand completely, Mom, I said, and I did. I understood perfectly. Good. I'll call you after and tell you all about it. I'm sure it will be a wonderful evening. I'm sure it will be, I agreed. After we hung up, I looked at my gown hanging on the closet door, my shoes waiting beneath it, and smiled. Tomorrow night was going to be very interesting indeed. I arrived at the venue, a gorgeous hotel ballroom in downtown Hartford, at 6:30. The gala started at 7, with the program beginning at 8. Carol met me at a side entrance and whisked me to a private room where I could wait. You look absolutely stunning, she said, taking in my gown and professional styling. Are you nervous? Terrified, I admitted, but also ready. Your mother is already here. I saw her in the ballroom greeting guests. She looks lovely. She has no idea you're here. Good. Sophia, Carol said gently, I don't know the whole story between you and your mother, but I want you to know that what you've done for these kids, it's extraordinary. You've changed lives. Whatever happens tonight, don't forget that. I felt tears prick my eyes. Thank you. At 7:15, Carol brought me a glass of champagne and a plate of appetizers from the reception. At 7:45, she showed me the program. At 8 o'clock, I could hear the ballroom going quiet as the speeches began. I listened through the wall as the foundation's executive director welcomed everyone and thanked them for their support. As the board president discussed their achievements and goals, as various sponsors were recognized. And then I heard my mother's voice. She was introducing the major donor tribute, talking about the mysterious STEM angel who had transformed their organization, describing the impact of the donations, the girls who were learning to code, building robots, dreaming of careers in technology. Her voice was warm and emotional in a way I rarely heard when she talked to me. We had hoped our angel would reveal herself tonight, my mother was saying. We wanted to thank her properly, to honor her publicly, but she has chosen to remain anonymous, and we must respect that choice. So instead, we've prepared a small tribute to celebrate her generosity and show her the impact she's made. The video played. I couldn't see it, but I could hear the girls' voices talking about their dreams, about wanting to be engineers and programmers and scientists, about how the program had shown them these careers were possible for them. When it ended, there was applause. Then Carol appeared at my door. Ready? She asked. I stood up, smoothed my gown, and nodded. Ready. Actually, Carol said with a mischievous smile, there's been a change of plans. Our mysterious donor has decided to reveal herself tonight after all. I could hear the surprised murmur through the wall. She's been supporting our work for over a year now, Carol continued. She's donated a total of $1 million to our programs, with a focus on STEM education for girls. She's chosen to remain anonymous until now because she believes in the work, not the recognition. But she's decided it's time to step forward, both to inspire others to give and to show the young women in our programs that success can look many different ways. My heart was pounding so hard, I thought everyone in the ballroom must be able to hear it. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my absolute honor to introduce our STEM angel, our largest benefactor, and a remarkable woman who has built an extraordinary career in technology. Please join me in welcoming Sophia Mitchell." The doors opened. I stepped through into the ballroom, into the lights and the applause, and walked toward the stage. The room was full of people in tuxedos and gowns, seated at round tables with crystal and flowers. 500 people, maybe more. And there, at a table right in front, I saw them. My mother, frozen with her hand over her mouth. My father, looking confused. Jennifer, her eyes wide with shock. And Michael, the condescending brother-in-law, staring at me like he'd seen a ghost. I climbed the stairs to the stage, accepting Carol's hug and the beautiful crystal award she handed me. The applause continued. I stood at the podium, looked out at all those faces, and found my voice. "Thank you," I said. "I'm Sophia Mitchell, and I'm honored to be here tonight." I looked directly at my mother as I began. Many of you know my mother, Patricia Mitchell, who serves on the Foundation's board and co-chaired tonight's event. Some of you might be surprised to learn that she had no idea I was the donor you've been calling the STEM angel. In fact, she didn't even know I was attending tonight. A ripple of confused whispers spread through the audience. My mother's face had gone pale. "I want to tell you why I chose to support this foundation, and specifically their STEM program for girls. It's personal for me. You see, I'm a woman who built a career in technology at a time when that wasn't common. I started as a software developer right out of college, worked my way up through the ranks, and eventually became a technology executive and entrepreneur. I've spent 20 years in an industry that often doesn't value women, working to prove that we belong in these spaces." I paused, letting that sink in. But the hardest part wasn't the industry. The hardest part was that the people who were supposed to champion me, my own family, never quite understood or valued what I did. They saw my career as less important, less impressive, less worthy of respect than more traditional paths. For 2 decades, I've tried to explain what I do, to share my achievements, to be seen for who I really am. And for 2 decades, I've been invisible. My mother was crying now. I could see tears streaming down her face. When I learned about the Foundation's STEM program for girls, I saw an opportunity to make sure other young women wouldn't face what I faced. That they'd have resources, mentorship, support. That they'd see women in technology not as oddities, but as role models. That they'd know from the beginning that their dreams were valid and valuable, even if those dreams didn't fit someone else's narrow definition of success. The room was absolutely silent now. Over the past year, I've donated $1 million to this organization. And tonight, I'm committing another $500,000, specifically to create a scholarship program for girls pursuing degrees in computer science, engineering, and technology fields. Because every girl deserves to be seen, valued, and supported in pursuing her passions. Every daughter deserves parents who recognize her worth. And every woman deserves to be respected for the work she does, regardless of whether it fits traditional expectations. The applause started slowly, then built. People were standing. The ovation went on and on. I looked at my mother, still frozen at her table, and felt something complicated twist in my chest. Not quite satisfaction, not quite vindication, something sadder and more final. "Thank you all for the work you do," I concluded. "And thank you for believing in these girls, for seeing them, for valuing them. It means more than you know." I left the stage to thunderous applause. Carol hugged me again, whispering, "That was perfect." The executive director shook my hand, tears in his eyes. Board members lined up to thank me. And through it all, I watched my mother sitting at her table, staring at me like she was seeing me for the very first time. The rest of the gala was a blur. People kept approaching me, wanting to talk, to thank me, to ask questions about my career and my philanthropic goals. Several women pulled me aside to say my speech had moved them to tears. A few young women who were program participants told me I was their inspiration. My family stayed at their table. I could see them in my peripheral vision, huddled together, clearly in intense conversation. Jennifer kept looking at me with this expression I couldn't read. My father looked shell-shocked, and my mother kept crying. After the speeches concluded and dinner was served, I moved through the room, talking to people, accepting congratulations, avoiding my family's table like it was radioactive. Finally, as dessert was being cleared, my mother appeared at my elbow. "Sophia," she said, her voice hoarse, "can we talk, please?" I looked at her, really looked at her. She'd aged since I'd seen her last, or maybe I was just seeing her clearly for the first time. She looked small, fragile, nothing like the formidable social maven who'd uninvited her own daughter from this event. "Not here," I said quietly. "Not now." "Please, I need to explain." "Explain what, Mom? Explain how you told me I wasn't good enough to attend your gala. Explain how you've spent 41 years dismissing my career and my achievements. Explain how you never once asked about my work with genuine interest. What exactly do you want to explain?" "I didn't know," she whispered. "I didn't know any of it. I didn't know you were successful or wealthy or—" "You didn't know because you never asked," I said, my voice hard. "You never cared enough to ask." "That's not fair." "Isn't it? Mom, I've been trying to talk to you about my work for 20 years. 20 years. Every time I tried to share something I was excited about, you changed the subject. Every time I got promoted or achieved something, you said that's nice and asked when I was getting married. You made it clear over and over that Jennifer's traditional path was more valuable than mine, that my choices made you uncomfortable, that I was the disappointment." People were starting to notice our conversation. Heads were turning. My mother noticed too. "Can we please do this somewhere private?" she begged. "Why? Because you're embarrassed. Because you don't want these people, these high society people you were so worried about impressing, to know that you treated your own daughter like she wasn't good enough." "Sophia, please." "I'm going to leave now," I said, stepping back. "Don't call me, don't text me. When I'm ready to talk, I'll reach out. Until then, leave me alone." I turned and walked away, leaving her standing there in the middle of the ballroom, looking shattered. Jennifer caught me at the coat check. "Sophia, wait." "Not you too," I said tiredly. "I'm not here to defend Mom," she said quickly. "I'm here to say I'm sorry. I knew she uninvited you and I didn't push back hard enough. I told myself it was her event, her choice, but that was cowardly. You're my sister. I should have fought for you." I looked at my younger sister, the golden child, the favorite, the one who'd never had to fight to be seen, and saw genuine regret in her eyes. "Did you know," I asked, "about my career, about the money?" "Not the specifics," she admitted, "but I knew you were doing well. You bought that amazing loft, you travel constantly, you always seem financially comfortable. I guess I just never thought about the magnitude. And I'm ashamed to say I never asked, either. I was so focused on my own life, my own family. I took you for granted." "Yeah," I said softly, "you did. Can I make it up to you, somehow?" "I don't know, Jennifer. I honestly don't know." She nodded, tears in her eyes. "I understand, but I want you to know I'm proud of you. What you've accomplished, what you've built, the woman you are. I'm proud of you, and I'm sorry I never said it before." Something in my chest loosened slightly. "Thank you." We hugged, briefly, awkwardly. Then I left, stepping out into the cool April night, and finally let myself cry. 3 weeks passed before I was ready to talk to my mother. 3 weeks of her leaving voicemails I didn't listen to, sending texts I didn't read, even showing up at my building once before the doorman turned her away at my request. Jennifer texted regularly, respecting my boundaries but checking in. We had coffee once, and it was stilted but honest. She talked about her own struggles with our mother's expectations, how exhausting it was to be the perfect daughter. I talked about being invisible. We were building something new, slowly. When I finally called my mother, I had a speech prepared. I'd practiced it with my therapist. Yes, I'd started therapy immediately after the gala. I needed professional help processing 41 years of family dysfunction. "Sophia," my mother answered on the first ring, her voice desperate. "Oh, sweetheart, thank you for calling. I've been so worried." "Mom, I need you to listen," I interrupted. "Just listen. Don't interrupt, don't explain, don't make excuses. Can you do that?" A pause. "Yes." "I'm angry with you. I'm hurt by you. I'm probably going to be processing this for years. What you did, uninviting me from the gala, telling me I wasn't good enough. That was just the final wound in a lifetime of being made to feel invisible. But it wasn't the only wound. It was every time you dismissed my career. Every time you compared me unfavorably to Jennifer. Every time you made it clear that who I was and what I'd accomplished didn't measure up to your standards. I could hear her crying on the other end of the line. I don't know if we can fix this, I continued. I don't know if I want to fix this, honestly. But if there's any chance, it starts with you understanding something. I don't need your approval anymore. I don't need you to finally be proud of me now that you know I'm wealthy. I needed you to be proud of me when I was a junior developer working 60-hour weeks. I needed you to be interested in my work when I tried to share it with you. I needed you to see me as I was, not as you wished I would be. I'm so sorry, she whispered. Sophia, I'm so sorry. You're right about all of it. I was so focused on what I thought success should look like that I couldn't see the extraordinary woman my daughter had become. I was worried about appearances, about fitting in with people who don't actually matter. And I hurt you, repeatedly, for years. Yes, you did. Can you forgive me, eventually? I don't know, I said honestly. Maybe, but first things have to change. If you want to be in my life, really in my life, not just when it's convenient or when you want to brag about me to your friends, then you need to actually know me. Ask about my work. Listen to my answers. Stop comparing me to Jennifer. Stop making every conversation about when I'm going to settle down and have kids. Accept that my life looks different from what you wanted, and that's okay. I can do that, she said quickly. I will do that. I want to know you, Sophia, the real you. I'm ashamed it took something like this for me to realize I don't actually know my own daughter. Then we can try, I said. Slowly, with a lot of boundaries, and probably with the help of family therapy, because we're not fixing 41 years of damage with a few phone calls. Whatever you need, she agreed. I'll do whatever you need. We talked for another hour. She asked questions about my career, real questions, with genuine interest. She apologized again and again. She admitted that she'd built her entire identity around appearances and social status, and that she'd projected those values onto her daughters unfairly. She said she'd already started seeing her own therapist to work through why she'd behaved the way she had. It wasn't a fairy tale reconciliation. I didn't suddenly feel healed or whole, but it was a start. It's been 6 months since the gala. My relationship with my mother is still complicated, but it's better. We talk once a week, and she actually listens now. She asks about my consulting projects and seems genuinely interested. She stopped asking about my dating life unless I bring it up first. She's trying. My relationship with Jennifer has improved significantly. We're actually building a real sisterhood, not just the surface-level relationship we had before. She's teaching me about being an aunt to her kids, and I'm teaching her about the tech industry. We've found common ground. My father and I are still working through things. He's admitted that he enabled my mother's behavior and failed to stand up for me. He's apologized. We're taking it slow. The foundation has thrived with the additional funding. The STEM program has expanded to 3 locations and serves over 200 girls now. I've started mentoring some of the older students, and it's become one of the most fulfilling parts of my life. Watching these girls discover their potential, knowing they have support and resources I didn't have, makes everything worth it. People ask me if I regret the way I revealed myself at the gala. If I wish I'd handled it differently, more privately, less dramatically. And honestly, no, I don't regret it, because here's what I learned. Sometimes you have to make a scene to be seen. Sometimes you have to force people to confront what they've been ignoring. Sometimes you have to be willing to burn bridges to build better ones. That moment on stage, when I stood in front of 500 people and told my truth, when I watched my mother realize she'd been wrong about me for 41 years. It was painful, yes, but it was also necessary. It was the moment I stopped waiting for my family to see me and started demanding that they do. I didn't need their validation anymore. But I deserved their respect. And by standing up for myself, by refusing to stay invisible, I finally got it. The money didn't change me. I was always the same person, with the same achievements and the same worth. But the money made my family see what had been there all along. And while that's a sad commentary on their values, it's also what finally forced the reckoning we needed. So to anyone out there who's ever felt invisible to their own family, who's ever been the disappointment or the overlooked one, who's ever had their achievements dismissed because they didn't fit someone else's narrative. I see you. Your success is real, even if they don't acknowledge it. Your worth is inherent, not dependent on their approval. And sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is stop waiting to be seen and start making yourself impossible to ignore. My parents texted me, "Don't come, only elites are invited to their charity gala." They had no idea I was the elite they'd been worshiping for months. And when they found out, everything changed, not because I changed, but because they finally saw me, and that made all the difference.